Hi, I'm Nat. Welcome. I recently did a stream where I talked about handling nerves and maintaining a good mental on PB pace and in tournament setting for Minecraft speedrunning. And here's the VOD for it. I hope you find it useful and educational. You can also apply it to non-speedrunning settings as well. So yeah, share it around to other people and enjoy. So to start, a little bit about me. I'm Nat. If you don't know who I am, I do a bunch of tournament stuff. I do art. I mod for some people. I don't know. I've been around for a while. Outside of Minecraft, and the reason why I'm doing this seminar, I've been doing competitive sports since I was 6, so 14 years. So, been in the game for a little bit with that. I also have taken some sports psychology classes, so I'm kind of taking all of those things that I've learned from that and bringing it over to Minecraft. So yeah, I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna talk a little bit about stress. I'm gonna talk about practice, pre-game rituals, setting expectations and standards, visualization and breathing techniques, how to calm yourself down, how to talk to yourself in the run. And feel free to ask any questions throughout. I'll try my best to get to them. If I don't see your question, don't be afraid to ask it again. I might have just missed it. You can ping me if you have a question. And at the end, I'll hang around for some questions as well. And if I'm going to be uploading the VOD to YouTube, so if you can't be here for the whole thing, or you have someone you know who maybe they want to watch it, it'll be on my YouTube. I'll post that link on Twitter once I post it. And my YouTube is just NatCatMat. I think I have a command for it. No, I don't. That's fine. Professional streamer. Okay, so let's start out. Let's talk a little bit about stress. Okay, so stress. People very much view stress as a bad thing, and it can be a bad thing. It's not fun to be stressed. You know, stressed. You're nervous. You're getting maybe sweaty. You're shaky. You're freaking out. But stress can be a good thing too. And I think that's why I wanted to start by talking about stress, because I think it's really easy for us to be like, oh, I feel stressed out. This is bad. And then we get stressed about being stressed, and it can kind of spiral down from there. So, you know, stress is a natural reaction for your body to something that has high stakes going on. And we can use stress to our advantage when we are when it happens, because yes, maybe it makes you shaky, maybe it makes you overthink, but it can also really help you get in the zone. It gets your adrenaline going, it gets your kind of your body pumping, gives you energy, it gets you kind of maybe helps you focus a little bit more. So there, as much as stress can be viewed negatively, if you view it as a positive thing, as, you know, instead of saying, oh my God, I'm so stressed out about this thing, I'm freaking out, I'm going to do badly because I'm stressed, you're just going to spiral downwards. And instead, if you say, oh, I'm stressed because I care about something that I'm doing, I want this thing to go well, then you know, that can be definitely a good thing. Also, what the heck, I set up stream alerts and they're not working, so I don't know why. So that's unfortunate, but anyways, thank you guys for the follows. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about stress. Don't always view it as a bad thing. It can also be a good thing, and it can be helpful to get you in the zone and going for your whatever you're doing that day. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about, let's talk about practice. Okay, because I have a lot I want to say about practice. Obviously, we all know that practice is a good thing. It's good. We all know we should do more practice. So I'm not going to yell at you about how you need to practice more and you need to practice this, that, and the other thing, because you know that. And everyone knows that if they want to do well, they need to practice. But I think what I want to talk about more today, I want to talk about how to optimize your practice, because there is such a thing as bad practice, and there's such a thing as your practicing can be bad to the point that it's actually harming your results when you're getting into actual runs and stuff. So the number one thing is don't be lazy in your practice. If you practice lazy, you will perform lazy. That is end point right there. Don't be lazy. And however you practice is going to be how you perform. I always like the saying, under pressure, you do not rise to the occasion, you fall onto habits. Say that again, under pressure, you do not rise to the occasion, you fall onto habits. You can't say, oh, it doesn't matter, it was just practice, because when you get into a high stress situation, you're going to perform the same way that you just practiced. So make sure that you're practicing the way you would want to perform come the actual run. If you play and you practice, because that's good, yeah. If you play and you practice really risky, and you say, oh, I'm gonna full send, maybe you take a lot of deaths in your practice, that's how you're gonna perform. You're gonna play risky and you're gonna take a lot of deaths. And that's fine if that's how you want to play, and that's, you're okay with never getting on pace or rarely getting on pace. But it's, if you're planning on not playing crazy risky in your actual runs, you should practice that way as well. So that's kind of my main thing. The other thing I want to talk about is like efficiency and pacing in your practicing. So the number one like goal of practice is to get to a place where key points of your run you can do without thinking, because the more you have to think, the more you'll make mistakes, right? So if you're able to do a treasure route without even thinking, you could do it with your eyes closed, that's a good treasure route. If you're able to, whatever it is you're practicing, if you're able to do a 1 cycle with your brain off, that's a good end fight, right? So, and balance. You don't want to spend all your time practicing, because obviously that's boring, but yeah. And then you also want to make sure your practicing is very rounded, because if you spend, let's say for example, you decided, okay, I really want to learn 0 cycle. So you spend all your time practicing 0 cycle, you're getting really good at it. But now you haven't practiced 1 cycles in over a month, and you get on pace and you get to the end and it's a closed end. So you can't do 0 cycle. And then you throw your 1 cycle because you haven't done a 1 cycle in a month. A month is a long time, and a month is very much enough time for you to lose muscle memory. So making sure that your practice is well-rounded, and you do want to spend the most time, and I like to say spend the most time and start with whatever you're worst at, whatever you want to work on, but make sure you're still spending a little bit time of that practicing the other parts of your run, so that you're well-rounded, and when it comes to actually getting on pace, you've gone through every step of your run. Okay, wait, what do you say? What if a runner gets stressed out about something that happened during the match and comes to argue with you? Example, he died and came to say, it's your fault. Are you talking about as a tournament organizer? I will get to that in a little bit. I'll talk at the end more about like actually on the pace, but I will get to that question because I think that is a very good point. And I have a kind of section about talking to a friend on pace, so that I'll try and tie that question into that. Okay. So that's what I have to say about regular practicing. Don't make it lazy. Keep it well-rounded, and practice how you want to perform. On top of that, I think it's really important to practice high stress situations. So, it's like anything else, the more you do something, the easier it gets, right? Like, the more you do tournaments, the easier tournaments will become. The more you get on pace, the easier it is to handle your nerves on pace. But obviously, so, the easy answer to that is do lots of tournaments, that kind of thing, because the more that you do it, the easier it gets, right? I didn't have a good handle of my nerves when I first started competing. I would cry. I would freak out. But now I've been doing it for a long time. I still get nervous. I can still get stressed, but I've done it enough times that I know how to handle it a little bit more. But there's also some ways to kind of replicate those high stress scenarios. Hi, I'm Bobik. So creating kind of like that fake high stress scenario. My kind of best suggestion is to do practice seeds against your friends and like make it competitive. Get yourself hyped up. It's sometimes hard to put yourself into that mental space, but you just got to put a lot of pressure on it, right? So maybe add some little fun stakes like a gifted sub or something really stupid. I don't know. Have to go like chug a glass of milk or something. I don't know. Whatever. But do it with your friends, make it something fun. And that way you get to practice being in that stressful situation. The other thing you can do is play somebody's PB seed, and get yourself into the headspace. Like, this is an RSG seed. I'm pretending I'm on pace. I'm pretending I really have to focus up for this seed. And even if you're only half as stressed as how you are on an actual run, it's still good because you're still practicing that headspace. So that's most of what I have to say about practice. I could talk for a while about practice, but does that make sense? Does it feel good? I'm gonna keep going. If anyone has questions, I can come back to it. Okay. I'm gonna move on and I'm gonna talk about rituals. This is something that's more relevant to tournaments. But I do think that you can take some of these tips and apply them to RSG or whatever runs you're doing as well. But yeah, in general, it's going to be more for tournaments. But yeah, so pregame rituals are really, really important. I would say they're one of the most important things to having a good mental come game day. I think they're often overlooked by people, and they're huge. So your ritual is pretty much a routine that you're going to do every single time you have a tournament. You want it to be the same. You want it to be consistent. And you want to make sure you have enough time to get through your entire ritual before every tournament. I suggest your ritual starts the night before. You're not doing that. This isn't like something you do 30 minutes before, right? Like, you're preparing yourself to get into that headspace. So kind of some things that you can do to get in that headspace the night before, maybe making sure you get to bed on time, getting enough sleep. Obviously that's hard to do sometimes, but you can use some of the prep that you need to do for a tournament as part of your ritual. So maybe the night before is when you're checking your start time, you're checking your mod folder, you're checking the tournament format and the rules. You're making sure you know where you need to be. You're making sure you know your settings are all set up and ready to go. So that then you can go to sleep comfortable knowing you have everything planned out, you know exactly what's going to happen for the match. Maybe it's you listen to a specific playlist before you go to sleep, or you have a certain thing you eat, whatever it is. And then come the morning, like I said, music, I think that's a huge thing personally. I think a lot of people have like a game day playlist. It's the same playlist. Mine has changed a little bit over the years because, I'm maybe not listening to the same music I listened to when I was 12, but they're all similar vibes, and I use the same playlist to warm up every single competition that I go to. So, yeah, like I said, eating the same breakfast, same songs, doing the same warm up, that kind of thing. And then, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, lists. Some people find lists really helpful. Some people don't. I go back and forth on them. But, maybe you have a list of all of your pre-game rituals, and you go through that list every single tournament, and you check it off, or it can be mental, it can be written down, whatever works best for you. But some people find lists really helpful. And then you're starting to get closer to the match, maybe an hour before you're starting to do your warm-up, whatever you feel is best, whether it's, movement practice, bastion practice, end-fight practice, whatever it is, you're getting that warmed up. You never want to go into something cold. Yes, we're not, physically exerting ourselves, but you're still using your muscles. And if you're not warmed up, you're not going to perform well. And period. Give yourself enough time to warm up. I am of the opinion that 30 minutes is the minimum amount of time that you want to use to warm up. I personally like 45 minutes to an hour to warm up. I'm not warming up that whole time, but, getting into that headspace. And then getting something that you can do that's kind of meditative. I know people might be like, meditation, what the heck? But it doesn't have to be like sitting in silence trying to turn your brain off, because I don't think that works very well for most people. But something that is not Minecraft. It cannot be Minecraft. It cannot be, ideally it's not even on a screen, that you can use to kind of turn off your brain and start, getting in the zone, whatever it is. Can be 5 minutes to 30 minutes, whatever works best for you. For myself personally, getting ready and dressed and doing my hair and makeup and all that stuff for my competition, that's what I use as my meditation time. But it can be anything from like a breathing exercise, going for a walk, even just having a shower and doing your skincare, doing your hair, whatever, cooking your breakfast, doing hand warm up and stretches and wrist stretches, anything like that, where you can kind of either turn your brain off or start to visualize, get in the zone, that kind of thing. But like I said, it cannot be playing Minecraft. This is not your warm up. This is your meditation time, and 5 to 30 minutes. And ideally it's not on a screen. Okay. Let's talk about setting expectations and standards. So this is kind of how you're speaking to yourself in the days advance of the tournament. This isn't like right before. This is like, maybe, an hour or two before, or the night before, the few days leading up to it. I personally find when I go into a competition, I set my expectations really low. I say, I'm going to have fun. I'm going because I love competing. I'm going because I love being on a stage. I'm going because I love seeing my friends, whatever it is. I don't care if I win or lose. I do care if I win or lose. But I'm telling myself, you got to lie to yourself a little bit in some of these scenarios. I'm telling myself, I don't care how I place. I could do literally bottom and I would still be happy because I showed up and I did my best and I had fun. And that's what matters. And so, maybe some people might find this demotivating, but I think in general, trying not to expect a ton from yourself is a lot more beneficial. Because if you set really high expectations, you're only going to meet those expectations or let yourself down. And that is, not very fun to be in a place where all you can do is let yourself down. Nobody really wants to do that. Nobody wants to be let down by themselves. I'm doing that because I know I talk with my hands a lot and I want to you'll see my hands. But yeah, you don't want to be in a place where you're just letting yourself down. So if you set your standards low, you can only meet or exceed them. And then that makes your mental coming out of a tournament a lot more positive. That being said, like I said, this is like in advance. Come the actual moment of the tournament, I will get to that. And then let's talk about visualization. So visualization is pretty much something you can do where you are mentally running through the steps of your run. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult when it's RSG, but I think you can still kind of, go through your bullet points of what you will always do. Maybe, running through your bastion routes in your head or anything like that, running through the extra things you need to do, whatever it is. I'm running through the different kinds of end fights you might be planning on doing. Consider visualization like an extra point in practice. And I usually like to do this, morning of. You can also do it in advance, whatever works. A lot of top athletes use it. And it's, like I said, it's literally extra practice when you think about it. And you're also you're making sure it's like, if everything goes perfect, like you're picturing the whole tournament or the whole run. Even you could use this for PB pace too. You're picturing every single step. You're thinking about how you're going to feel when you see that bastion and how you're going to feel when you get to the portal room. You're thinking about, how am I going to feel when I win? How am I going to feel when I get through to the next round, or when I when I get my PB, whatever it is, adding your emotions to that as well is really helpful. Okay. So you've done your rituals, you've done everything, and your match is about to start, and you're still freaking the fuck out. You're like, I've done everything and I'm still freaking out. It happens. Like I said, I've been competing for 14 years, and I had a competition on the weekend, and it was the most nervous I have ever felt for a competition in probably I'm trying to think, maybe since like 2018. I was so confused. I was like, why do I feel so stressed? And I realized in hindsight it was because I didn't do my ritual. I had other things going on. Actually, Minecraft tourney things. Hindsight was a bad idea to try and do both. But I wasn't able to get into my headspace. And so I was like freaking out. I was driving there and I was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I can't eat. I'm freaking out. Well, what do I do? And I thought it was really funny because I was like freaking out in my head, and I was like, oh, this is perfect content for this seminar on Tuesday. So anyways, so when you're actually, you're there, you're freaking out, it's really easy to start being like, oh my God, why am I stressed? Oh my God, I'm stressed that I'm stressed, whatever. Talking to a friend, on Saturday, I was freaking out. I was driving. I called my sister. I was like, Sage, Sage, I'm so stressed. What do I do? Help me. um, okay, Alex. That's okay. Sounds good. But I will answer your question. Sorry, I just wanted to make it in order. Um, but yeah, I will answer your question later on. So you can watch the VOD. Okay, cool. But yeah, so uh talking to a friend, talking to somebody you know will calm you down, help you get back into that headspace, that kind of thing. Focusing on the fun and not the outcome. You know, think about, what do you enjoy about speedrunning? What do you enjoy about working on, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, what do you enjoy about speedrunning, about tournaments, about competing, any of that? Doing those visualization technique, like I was talking about, running through the best case scenario. Finding maybe something to distract yourself. And doing some breathing exercises. I know it sounds maybe a little bit kooky, but calming down your breathing is a very good way to regulate your nervous system. So we're gonna do a little breathing exercise together. There's a lot of different ones out there. You can Google them. This is my personal one. I'm a very visual person. So you picture a box, and here, I'll switch my camera for this. We can do some breathing. But yeah, so you picture a little box. And you're gonna breathe in for 4, you're gonna hold for 4, you're gonna breathe out for 4, and then you're gonna hold for 4. So it's gonna look like, breathe in, that's all it is. So you're breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, you're holding 1, 2, 3, 4, you're breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're holding 2, 3, 4. And you're like a little box going around in a circle, breathing. It's helpful. When you get nervous, you do some breathing, takes your brain off of what you're nervous because you're only thinking about your breathing. It slows your breathing down, gets your heart rate down, calms down those nerves. Et voila. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of mostly what I wanted to say about pregame rituals stuff. Let's get into the meat of it though, and let's talk about how to talk to yourself while actually on a run. This is, applicable everywhere: tournaments, PB, literally anything else, taking an exam. It's all relevant. So the first thing is, you want to make sure you're speaking only in positives, because when you say things like, don't fuck up the speed ridge, don't throw, don't blah, 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 you know what your brain hears? Your brain doesn't hear the don't. It just hears the fuck up the speed bridge. It hears, I'm going to throw. And then you're going to throw. That's it. So, speaking in positives, instead of saying don't fuck up the speed bridge, you say, I will speed bridge over this lava lake. Instead of saying don't throw this one cycle, you say, I'm going to hit the 4-bed. That's really, really important. And that's really, really important to change. Like I said, another example on Saturday, there was part of the floor was like really slippery, and a lot of people were slipping and stuff, and I was hearing and watching people slip the whole time. And before this one dance was hard, I was like, the whole time I was like, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip, don't slip. You know what I did? I slipped, because all my brain was hearing was slip, and I was like thinking about it so much that I slipped. And so avoiding those don't and those negative statements is really, really important. So speaking in positives and hyping yourself up. So right before your match starts, or when you're starting to get on PB pace, you're like going to be your biggest hype man. Like, I literally say to myself, I'm like, I'm the best person here. I'm so good. Everybody's watching me. I'm like, say in a tournament, you're like, I'm the best in the tournament. I'm going to win by a mile. I'm going to get a new tournament best. I'm going to beat everybody else in this tournament. Literally everybody is so much worse than me. Or on pace, you're saying, I'm so good at this. I could do this with my eyes closed. I'm literally the best of the game. Like saying those things to yourself, even if you don't believe them, you don't have to believe them, but you're telling yourself you're the best. And eventually your brain's going to kind of listen and be like, oh, okay, I guess we are the best. So, lying to yourself, that's maybe like while you're in the pause screen of maybe your tournament or kind of when you get into the nether and you see your bastion, your fortress, or whatever else for other versions. But you're saying, you're telling yourself, I'm the best of the game. I'm literally the best. And yeah. And then once you're kind of getting into the run, there's kind of 3 options. You can just turn your brain off and just run. Most people don't do well with this. I would say 80% of people don't do well with this. And I would say it's probably more like 90% because Minecraft is such a... it's not a consistent thing. It changes every round. So you do have to be kind of thinking, right? If that works for you, that's great. I'm jealous. I think for most of us, we do have to be thinking the whole time. So there's kind of 2 ways to go about it. You can kind of narrate what you're doing, or you can have like a mental checklist of things you're remembering throughout the run. So that narration is, you're like, you spawn in and you're like, okay, I'm on an island. I see a tree. Oh, there's a shipwreck. Okay, shipwreck. Okay, I'm going to get wood. I got my boat. I got my doors. I got my sticks. Okay, I'm gonna go to the boat. I'm gonna get my iron. Okay, I have enough iron to make a bucket and a pick. Okay, and a shovel, and I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna get food from this chest. Oh, the stream's still good. Okay, my Chatterino just had a moment. And yeah, so that's kind of your where you're talking yourself through your run. You're spawning, you're like, okay, I'm in a fortress. Okay, I'm gonna craft a shield. Okay, I whatever. Yeah, going through that kind of thing. The other option is kind of more of a checklist. Make sure you don't have too many things on your checklist of things. I would say 3 to 4 items per section of your run, where you're always remembering, like, say 115. You're like, okay, you've blown up your houses. You're like, okay, I got my 2 fletching tables. Fletching tables are down. And then you're like, okay, I need to make sure I count my trades properly. I need to make sure I get my bow and my arrows. And I need to make sure, and I want to throw my first eye while I'm waiting for whatever. I don't know. That kind of checklist style. So I think if you do choose to use that checklist style, I think kind of preparing what you're going to tell yourself and remember in advance is very helpful. So those things that you oftentimes forget, those things maybe you make mistakes on, and also picking times throughout your run where you're going to need to focus up a little bit more, where maybe you have issues, maybe you've died in the past. That's kind of your moment to like check in when you're with yourself, be like, okay, how am I doing? Where am I at? What do I need to think about? Oh, I need to remember to do this thing, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the 2 options of ways to speak to yourself. But the biggest things to really make sure that you don't get super nervous is speaking in positives, staying, focused in the zone, taking things step by step. If you start to stress about the end of the run, you're going to make a mistake in your current moment, right? So you can't start thinking about your end fight when you haven't even finished your bastion. Yeah. If you start to get stressed, you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm shaking. Calming down your breathing, taking a big deep breath, maybe resetting your hands on your keyboard. You're like freaking out. You're like, oh my God. Okay, I'm going to reset. can just be 1 second. I'm resetting. Okay, I'm ready to keep going. It's worth it to take that 1 second to reset and come back into yourself, get out of your head, than just keeping rushing. Because, speed running is a time-based thing. You really start to overthink and whatever. 1 second reset is worth that time loss. It's only 1 second. Okay. I think that is most of what I have to say about how to actually talk to yourself while on a run. And I hope any questions on that, any specifics, any details people want. If not, I'm going to talk about how to talk to your friend on pace. So, I wanted to touch on this because I'm going to be honest, I've seen some really bad backseating from people. And I can tell when I watch it, I'm like, you're making this person run more poorly. You're harming your friends. And so I want to talk about this because I think it's really easy to not realize how much you can negatively affect your friends who are on pace. So yeah, I'm going to go through this. This is if you're in a call, if you're coaching somebody, or if you're in a team event like relay or a duos event, whatever it is. Talking to them beforehand about how they like to be treated when on pace is definitely helpful. So, do they prefer just silence? They just want to focus. They don't want to hear anything. Do they prefer maybe some casual banter so it relieves the stress a little bit? Or do they want to be backseated? Do they want your tips and whatever else? Easy, quick conversation that can really, really help, especially in those team events. You need to stay calm. Guaranteed your friend or whoever you're in call with is 5 times more stressed out than you are. If you start stressing out, you are going to make it 10 times harder for them. Do not stress out more. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting there. So, calm yourself. Keep your nerves to yourself. Keep your worries to yourself and let them run. If you aren't able to do that, zip it. I've seen so many people do that. They're like freaking other people out. Don't, just calm. The other person's already more stressed. You don't need to stress them out more. So, and then once again, speaking in those positives only again. Don't say things like, don't forget this, don't do that, da 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 da. Say, hey, make sure you remember your lava bucket. Hey, make sure you remember to pearl hang, whatever it is. Instead of saying, don't forget to pearl hang, don't do that, whatever. Okay, yeah. So yeah, be supportive. So be supportive too when they make mistakes. Like I said, if they make a mistake, they are guaranteed more upset than you are. And so if you start yelling at them, getting angry at them, you're just making them upset. You're just making them feel bad. So using constructive criticism instead, say after the run, like the compliment sandwich, if you guys have ever heard of that, you start with something positive, then you have your criticism that you put in nice words, and then you end with something positive. Yeah. Just be nice. Be nice to your friends. And I will answer Alex's question now. Alex was asking if a runner gets stressed about something that happened during a match and comes to argue with you. Example, he died and came to say it's your fault. We should calm down. Should we try and calm them down and try to talk, or just leave it until he sees the error in itself? This is, I assume, more on an organizer's side. I think, trying to talk it out, trying to reason with them, but making sure you're not putting blame on them. Don't be like Alex said, oh, they die. I'm being like, well, you died, it's your fault, you're just a bad runner. nobody's going to listen to that. They're just going to get more mad if you call them a bad runner. So instead, maybe saying something like, I understand your frustration. I know it really sucks. We try to make our event as even and as fair as possible for everybody. If there's something that you think maybe we should change about the seeds, about the way the tournament is run, we can talk about that. But unfortunately, the run's already happened. There's not a lot we can do about it now. Kind of, trying to make them understand that there's a lot going on, hearing them out, listening to them. People, when they're upset, they want to be listened to. If you ignore them and cut them off, they're just going to get more angry. So, sympathizing with them, understanding why they feel the way they feel, is how you want to start. If they're really too angry to talk to, yeah, leave it. Come back to it. Say, I understand. I don't have a moment to deal with this right now. Sorry, give me one moment. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Give them a moment to calm down, and then you can come back and talk about it. But yeah, the biggest thing, when people are upset, they want to be listened to. They don't want to be blamed. So blaming, not saying, oh, it's your fault you died, saying it was really unfortunate that you died. But, both runners had the same seed, or whatever it is. And, sometimes listen to them, because maybe what they have to say is criticism. I know it's hard to hear criticism, but yeah. Staying positive, all those fun things. Okay, I think that's most of what I wanted to say on that. There's a couple little miscellaneous things I want to talk about. Settings. Drop your DPI. If you're having problems with shaking and bad whatever, just drop your DPI. I know it's very simple, but it's something I've seen so much. I'm like, your mouse sensitivity is way too high. And making sure your settings are consistent, and not changing your settings all the time, making sure they feel comfortable for you. But also, if something feels gross with a keybind, change it. It's worth it. It's always worth it. It'll feel uncomfortable at first, but it's worth it in the long run. Don't be afraid to change your settings if something feels wrong. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about sleep and nutrition. And I know that we gamers are like, no, I don't want to talk about sleep and nutrition. But they do play a really big part. Sleep, the better you sleep, the better you'll do. So as much as you can before a tournament or whatever, make sure you try and get enough sleep. It's hard sometimes, but yeah. What did you say, Bobak? And in my PV, the shaking is super visible, and I lowered sense by 15%. It definitely helped, at least mentally. Yeah, no, it does. It helps. It helps your gameplay too. Because, sure, a high sense, you can maybe have quicker movement, but at the end of the day, a high sense, when you're nervous, and it's really hard to do really precise movements. And so, lower sense. What I wanted to mention about nutrition as well is when you don't eat enough or eat well before being stressed, you're gonna get way more shaky because your blood pressure is not good and stuff. So making sure you eat enough. I'm gonna be honest, I force myself to eat before I compete in anything, and it's disgusting. I literally am like, ooh, because I can't. I have a hard time eating when I'm nervous, but it is really, really important. Things like smoothies and stuff are nice because then you don't have to do the whole chewing thing. So yeah, making sure you're well nourished before anything happens. Oh yeah, and the other thing I was gonna mention too, I just thought of with shaking and stuff. It's really hard to do precise small movements when you're shaky and nervous. And getting some of that energy out, like literally if you're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out, I'm stressed, you're like getting out and like running a lap around your house, or like doing like 10 jumping jacks, or like whatever it is, just like getting some of that energy out, literally just going like this helps a lot, to just get some of that stress out, get some of that energy out, get some of that adrenaline out, so that you can sit down and you can focus. I used to, before really big exams at school, I would like do jumping jacks in the hallway outside, like when I had like big finals and stuff, because you need to get that extra energy out, so you can really sit down and focus. All right, so that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. If anyone has any questions whatsoever, please feel free to DM me. My DMs are open on Twitter and Discord. And I will link the document that I used in this in the description if you want to take a look at it. I have the bullet points as well as all my talking points in there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and good luck on the rest of your speedruns.